Lada lame medame anje ombo dan jajen lazo chuje chonga chawa chebana sanje somba ramdo shishin dewe gyuba deda shin tambe shin shin deje Namo laye jadan ludan nejen je rubon dan me je nam dan do kunje chana chisama tamje je to dagi chöte do Good morning. How are you? Good. This morning? It's a cold morning. I see new faces. Can you introduce?
Oh, I'm Arzu.
Have you been coming a member?
No, this is my first time.
I see.
I was Wednesday night across the street over there.
I see.
Yes.
And how about you?
My name is Cody.
Cody, okay. And you are also a newcomer here?
Yes, sir. I was same thing with her.
I see. Yeah, I think, have you seen the program on the website? Yeah, so what we do is normally 1 week we do the actual discussion, kind of pedagogy, and then the alternate week, the next week, we normally do meditation. So today is the meditation day. Yeah. And then, we always have this before we start the class, we have a sharing session. So we want people to encourage what we have learned to put into practice. So the whole week was supposed to apply what you have learned and then share the insight in the class so that others can also benefit. So that's what we normally do. So we will begin with that. Please, anyone.
So yes. I found more time to read the first stanza. Whenever bad stuff comes up, I will be aware and avert it. I was more mindful, but it also struck me that I have to believe that I can change. So that engaged this idea of impermanence and emptiness. That sort of, for me, made a connection that yes, it is possible to change.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, the unique part of the Buddhist teaching is that, we have control over our life. We have control over happiness and suffering. If we don't want to experience suffering or undesirable experiences, then we can avert it, we can prevent it. And if we want to experience happiness all the time, we can do it. So that's the best part. We are not relying on some external factors to provide us that feeling of happiness. Yeah, but it is all here. That's the main teaching. So most of the time, we mistakenly think that happiness is something to do with external things. That's why we continue, trying to fix external things. But we know that after you fix one external things, there is another thing to fix. And there's another thing. So it's endless. Whereas if we fix here, then that's it. So that's why this Shanti was quote about putting a piece of leather on your soul. That's so logical, so rational. Instead of trying to, those who haven't heard about it. So this is I find it very useful. And so that's why I quote this frequently. So this is about saying that if you want to avoid those prickly thorns in the forest. And one way is to cover all that forest with leather. But that's impossible. You won't find enough leather to cover the whole forest. But instead, if you just cut a small piece of leather and just put it on your soul, that's like covering the whole leather. Of course, these were during those times when we don't have shoes. Now it's like you just put on a pair of shoes. That will prevent you all from all those prickly thorns. So likewise, if you try to kind of bulldoze all the the conditions that give rise to all the problems, there is no way we can do that. As I mentioned earlier, if you fix that one, another will come up. But if you do here, if you fix your mindset, if you try to work here, like say for anger, the person, you may have disagreements with many people. If you try to eliminate all these people, no way. How are you going to eliminate those people? One way is to kill them. Then you will get into trouble. But if you are able to practice tolerance, that's like eliminating all your adversaries or enemies. So that's the main point. So you are right, we have to have this understanding that yes, I have the power over myself. I can do. I'm not under the control of external things. I can do it. So with that understanding, and then if you practice, that will make a difference. Thank you. Anybody? Yes.
I just, after your teachings, I needed to review the 6 perfections because they remind me of what I need to do, as you said, to improve myself, my inner being. And so that was just what I did this week, was just kind of read over and as things arose, try to apply them.
Okay, very good, very good. Thank you. It's very encouraging because I see that because of these classes, you are trying to, really do something. So that's very encouraging for me. So that kind of drives me to these classes. Yeah, because that's what I wanted, you see. It's not just attending here. I emphasize this all the time, and you will hear me say that again and again. Yeah, most important thing is, it's not about how much we learn, how much knowledge we gain. It's about how much we apply in our lives. So even if you know a very little, but if you apply that, that's better than, knowing a lot but not applying at all. So that's why I am encouraging you for this kind of sharing, because I believe that if I do that, you will try to, apply during the week, so that, it can form a habit. Then if it becomes a habit, it is your second nature. So you don't have to contrive. It comes automatically, it comes naturally. That's very good. So that's the whole purpose. Anybody?
Yeah,
Yes.
For me, as a Westerner, the refuge, it's like the song "Stand By Me." It's I won't be afraid if you stand by me, and it says, no matter if the sky falls and the mountain crumbles to the sea. And that's what I felt like. And this week, I found a wonderful quote from the 3rd Dalai Lama, and it says this: moons and stars may fall to earth, mountains and valleys may crumble, and even the sky may disappear, but you, O Buddha, speaks nothing false. And then it goes on, from evil comes suffering, therefore day and night one should think and rethink about how to escape misery forever. And it talks about the root of all goodness and so forth, but it's almost the same words. It was like the 3rd Dalai Lama. It was like, whoa, it's it was like this was like gave me a jolt. It's something I will never forget.
Yeah, refuge. Yeah, I think this is good. When you when you think of this, reflect on why Buddha achieved, worked towards Buddhahood. That's main goal, main purpose is to help us. So now that he has achieved that enlightenment, so there's no way that he will ignore us.
Yeah.
He's always looking down. Down, is it right? Looking
Out?
looking out for us, looking for how to help. But as I mentioned, the ring is there, but we lack the hook. We are not creating that hook. So the ring is there. If you don't, create this one, no way, Buddha can help. It's like helpless. I want to help you, but I show you the path. But if you don't practice, then there's nothing I can do. It's like the lottery story. Yes, I heard your prayer, but you have to buy the lottery ticket if you want to win. Yeah. If you buy the lottery ticket and then you pray to God or whatever, then there is chance. But you keep praying and but if you don't buy the ticket, then no way you will strike the lottery. Yeah. Yes.
Through the whole week, I've been thinking about the refuge, three jewels, Buddha Sangha, Buddha Dharma Sangha. So since I always, it solidifies my devotion towards Lama, because the Lama is the manifestation of this Buddha Sangha and Dharma. We can see it and we can always listen to him. So that solidifies myself, and so I have more dedication, more respect, more attached to the Lamas. And I was praying one of his Guru Soldier, and at the end he was at the first part he was speaking about all the suffering and to all human beings, but at the last part of the prayer, it is so, he was so thinking about Kangjinpa, why they are suffering so much. Now it's your time to save them. Tears came from my eyes, and I was like crying half of my praying time. So thank you, Rinpoche. And after I attend this, I attend so many teachings, but when you say this is not one part, we have to do together. And also applying is more than saying or listening. So it keeps me rolling whole week. So thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Anyone? Yes.
I had a great reminder to practice because of a reminder of impermanence and death. For a number of years on Saturday mornings in the fall, another friend and I have led a training workout for cross-country skiers, and it's 2 hours of intervals up and down a steep hill. And 20 years ago, it was led by a Norwegian guy named Bjorn Lasserud, very great skier, and he was my age. And now I heard yesterday, first of all, this was part of my reminder, that he has heart failure and he doesn't have much time left. And I remember him 20 years ago tirelessly doing this workout up and down the hill and exhorting us to get trained and fit. And Bjorn's time is almost gone, and that was not that long ago. It was 20 years ago. And the other reminder I had was that I used to be one of the strongest people on the hill. And now I just get all these aches and pains, and it's really hard for me to do the workout and also try to exhort people and get them to work and train and enjoy the process of training. And it just reminded me, my time is limited too. As much as I have enjoyed all of this, it's going to go away. And I just can't hold on to it, or the expectation that I can do what I could do 20 years ago, or that 20 years from now I can do what I could do now. It's a very poignant reminder for me.
Thank you. We have a saying in Tibetan: "Chuchidu mate nishu tals, chuchedo chedo nishu tals, majung shini nishu tal." with the Tangpa 7 Namdarins. Yeah.
I agree.
I have a friend in Malaysia, so sometimes I just tease her in Tibetan, and her response is, "Same to you." So this means that how our life just passes away, in all these worldly things. So that was, of course, many years ago when Tibetan average age is 60 years. People live around 60, and then that's it, because it's very harsh life in Tibet. So it says that Yushu tells. So the first 20 years, you are just baby, toddler, then kindergarten, then school, all this. Yeah, it never crossed your mind to practice Dharma. So 20 years just passed by, not even remembering, not even occurring that thought to practice Dharma. So 20 years pass by. And then after 20 years, you get a job, you have to establish your career, and then you settle in your life, all this. And then you will, I will practice. But you get so involved in this, your career and job and all work and all that. So another 20 years pass by. Then you're already 40 years old. But then at the age of 40, of course, this is different. In the West, 60 or 40 is new, what was that? There's a
The
phrase,
60 is new 40.
New 40. Yeah. But Tibetan 40 is like, oh, I'm old. So it's, oh, now I'm too old, I cannot practice. So another 20 years pass. It's like, Maju means, oh, I couldn't practice. Now I'm too old, couldn't practice. So another 20 years pass by. And then it says, that's the empty life story. Empty story of my article, my empty life story. So you just end 60, then the time comes. So this kind of, when your friends or somebody, suddenly having this kind of certain death, it is very powerful to jolt you out of this, your, engagement in otherworldly things. And then, that should actually not just reminding you of this impermanence, but that should enable you to really practice. Otherwise, you die. Then you continue doing whatever you are doing. Then it's the same. There's no much difference. Yeah. So that's important. Thank you. Anyone? Anyone? Okay. No pressure.
Okay. I was reading recently, and I've been thinking about more of how to get a sense of purification and transformation and increase into the more the results of the refuge.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a thing that was very important. It seemed to say that if you study shunyata and you only study that, it's like cutting off one of your legs.
Mm-hmm.
And if you have the bodhicitta and the refuge, only that, then it also is like only having one leg. So it's better to study both, and one prior to the other, because it creates a stronger foundation.
Yeah, definitely. And that's the whole point of refuge. Refuge is to, if you have the refuge, then it will propel you to practice this. Because remember, we discussed that, when you have this kind of fear for uncertainty, then what happens is you take refuge in 3 jewels. And then taking refuge does not mean that you just, pray and that's all. Mm-hmm. Is you have to practice what Buddha taught. Mm-hmm. So when it comes to the instruction, when it comes to actually practicing, that's where all this practice of insight, meditation of emptiness and all this comes. So you see, without that, without refuge, it is less likely that you will progress into your spiritual journey or path. Yes.
As I mentioned this to you once before, perhaps it'd be a good time to address the issue that I think we have a little bit in the West, the Western. There's, I think, a tendency to avoid the notion of hierarchies. That somebody's better, higher up or more advanced. So it addresses the issue of the Sangha and going to refuge for the superior Sangha. I think from your perspective there's some differences. That Sangha is just not everybody who comes and sits on the cushion on a regular basis. And then the other half of that was that I asked because we mentioned Sangha, superior Sangha, we look for encouragement and ways to practice and to get help for practice. But then at the other side of it is in the West, we also say, well, we're not encouraged to talk about our attainments. So it's like you have this dichotomy of a Sangha who may or may not have attainments, and then we talked about that we addressed the idea of there's a kind of a hierarchy there in terms of refuge and Sangha.
Okay, I think I will try to bring that in when we recap.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Good.
Okay, let's recap. Okay. The causes of going for refuge. You wanted quits. Okay, go ahead. The two causes. What are they?
So the fear of samsara and cyclic existence, suffering, Lord, rebirths, and belief that the three jewels can protect you, and really protect you.
So there's fear and then the confidence in the three jewels. So fear, I have to clarify here. So we are not here, the fear we are talking about is not the neurotic fear. It is the intelligent fear. Why we say that intelligent fear? There's a basis. Because from the Buddhist point of view, your birth, your rebirth, whatever it is, at the moment we are alive, but one day we have to die. When we die, our body, of course, we have to leave behind, but our consciousness still continues and has to take a birth. And that, you don't have choice. You cannot say, oh, I want to be born as a prince, I want to be born as, I don't know, daughter or son of a billionaire or whatever. We don't have freedom to choose our birth. It is determined by our action. That's what we call karma in our past life. So that's why when we honestly reflect of our actions, so normally there's a saying that, Mama kangje tade lulakde, chima kangdo tade lelakdes. You are expert, isn't it? Do I need to explain that? Same to you. Yeah, so it says, Mama kangje tade lulakdes. What karma you have created, if you want to know, it says just look at your present situation. From your present situation, you can infer that what you have done in the past. And then chima kangdo tade lula tade leladu, that means where you are going to be born. You said that you just look at your action, observe your action. If your action is more leaning towards positivity, virtue, then of course there's a guarantee that you are going to achieve a good rebirth. But if you are not, if you are like me, all the time, under the control of this, let's say, attachment, hatred, anger, ignorance, I think most of us are, under that delusion. So from that we can see that, it's most likely that we are not going somewhere, favorable. So that's why it's called intelligent fear. And with that fear, it's not like, I'm helpless. You still have time. You can still do something about it. So with that kind of fear, you can prepare. So that's why it's different. Neurotic fear is, there's no baseless. There's a lot of anxiety there. You are just worrying and worrying. And when you really analyze that, there is no reason, there's no basis for that. But here, there is a basis. So that's why it's an intelligent fear. And then, of course, this fear of suffering of lower rebirth is the, what do you call, the refuge of lower persons of lower soul. So their main goal is to guarantee a good rebirth. So that's why the causes is fear of suffering of lower rebirths. And then you have refuge of person of medium scope. So their goal is to achieve what you call freedom from samsara. Even if you achieve a good rebirth next life, you are still under the control of your karma and delusion. As long as you are born in samsara, there is no freedom. You are all the time, subject to delusion, anger, suffering, all that. So their main goal is to achieve nirvana. So the fear of the suffering of samsara is the one that propels the person to seek refuge. And then we have Mahayana, or the person of great scope. So their refuge, the causes of their refuge is fear of the suffering of all sentient beings. When you look at yourself, you realize that all that you are subject to, all that kind of suffering. And then you also think of other sentient beings. They are also in the same boat, subject to all this samsaric suffering. So you have this fear for all the sentient beings. So that propels you to seek refuge. So there are three types of refuge. Yeah. And then all that, the confidence that, Buddha is the person to seek refuge. We have discussed the four qualities, why they are worthy. Can you name any volunteers? The four reasons why Buddhas are worthy of refuge. I'm quizzing you.
They're free from all of the delusions and suffering, and they're able to help free other beings from all the delusions
They are
and
skilled.
suffering.
They are not only free from suffering themselves, but they are skilled in liberating other beings. And then they have compassion. Without compassion, they cannot do. And then
They work for the benefit of all, like they don't discriminate.
Irrespective of, whether people help you or this thing, they still have you. If not like that, then, those who are nice to you, you will help those. But those who are, what is the word? Those who are not nice, let's say, to you, for the lack of word, then you don't care. But Buddha is not like that.
Indifferent.
Indifferent. If people, that's what I was looking for. Thank you. Then, the objects of refuge. Buddha, Dharma, Sangha. So what is Buddha? The three objects. Now, I don't want you to point to the statue. Many Tibetan would do. So three objects, what are the three objects of refuge? They will say, Buddha, Dharma, Sangha. So what is Buddha? They will just make a statue. So Buddha is the enlightened mind, the ultimate wisdom, which is free of all the forms. It's immaculate, wisdom. And then Dharma. What is Dharma?
The truth that the Buddha teaches, the way things truly are.
It's
The ultimate nature of things.
It's the path to obtain what
ultimate
he has
nature,
achieved.
everything is, it's empty of, this thing. So the path, the Dharma is actual realization. The path and realization, like the cessations that, those Arya beings have. So these are Dharma. So we need to really know that. These are the basic ones. If you don't know that, then it's Sounds good. And then Sangha, now we're coming on to Sangha. So Sanghas are those beings who possess those realizations, like Arya beings, those who are above the path of seeing. So they have these cessations, they possess these realizations. So those who practiced, those who journeyed on the spiritual path, and then they have realized the path, those are Sangha. So last week we discussed about when it comes to the instructions, what to do, what not to do. So there are specific instructions. So Sangha, those are the Sanghas. But of course, normally when we depict Sangha in text and all this, Sangha, Tibetan is called Gindu. So Gindu is normally a combination of four, fully ordained monks or nuns. So this makes, that collection makes Sangha. So normally in Tibetan community, when you say Sangha, so they always have this, understanding that we're talking about ordained monks and nuns. But of course, Sangha doesn't mean that it has to be an ordained monk. Whoever is practicing, lay people, those who practice and have achieved those realizations, those are actual Sangha. And then I think in the West, I noticed that you also use the Sangha for the center members, those who are practicing. So that was something new to me, because to me, coming from that background, when you say Sangha, it's like monks and nuns. That's what we understand. So I think it is perfectly correct to use, because Sangha, basically those who are practicing and trying to follow Buddha's path. So your question about, you don't have to express that I have this realization. Normally, we always encourage humility. So even if you have so much realization, you normally don't kind of broadcast that. We try to hide our qualities. We don't blow our trumpet, isn't it? Yeah. So it's okay. So you don't have to say if you have realizations. It's very good.
But I have a question about that.
Please.
I had it when the question was posed. If we're going for refuge, all these examples, if we're fallen, we can't help somebody who's falling, and if we're in the quicksand, we can't, help somebody who's also in the quicksand. So we have to go with someone and people who know more than we do, so they can inspire and teach us, and we can continue. We're using the Dharma, of course, but many times when we've seen, and heard different people speaking, we've been inspired. And so, as opposed to somebody who's, who's in a different place with it.
Yeah. So I think there are distinctions to be made.
Yeah.
Amongst the three refuge. So the actual refuge is Dharma.
Yeah.
And Buddha is like the teacher, like the doctor. We normally explain to a doctor, we are the patient. And Buddha is like the doctor. And then Dharma is like the medicine that actually helps you, actually heals you of your ailments. And then Sangha is normally explained as the nurses. Nurses are the ones who coordinate with the doctor, and then that help us all the time. Help us to give medication and encourage us by talking to us, explaining things, and that's how Sanghas are. When we see those beings who have attained these realizations, that gives us the encouragement. Oh, it is possible.
Right.
If you take refuge in Buddha and follow Buddha's path, it is possible to gain something, because look at that person. He has that kind of realization. So that's the main point. Through Sangha, we are encouraged in our path. Sometimes we feel that, oh, I have practiced so long, it's like, oh, there's no point. But then when you think of other people who have realization, then yeah, you see, I told you about my teacher. When I witnessed my teacher remaining in that meditative state for 7 days, that really kind of, solidified my faith. So, oh yeah, if you really practice, there is something you can see. It's not something, talking in the space, there are real realizations. So it is not common, isn't it, for people to, remain in meditation after you are announced dead. So when you see that, it get inspired. So it makes you practice. So that's the main purpose of going for refuge in Sangha. Did I?
Yeah. And I'm thinking, like, for instance, looking at the relics. There was relics that travel, and you see that, and you said, "Oh my gosh!"
And then there are great practitioners. I don't know whether you are aware of this. Many of the great practitioners, relic is one thing. They normally leave behind what is called tukjak chensun. So tuk is the heart, chen, and then the tongue. You know how we cremate, the cremation for the high lamas. So with the fire puja, and then after that it was sealed. It was made a kind of a dome, and then it was heated there for 3-4 days. And when you dismantle that, it's still warm, but inside you will find things like heart, eyes, and tongue all bundled together, and it is like fresh. Despite all that, everybody has turned into ashes. Everything has turned into ashes, but that still remains there. So these are, how can you explain that? How do you explain that? These are signs of attainment. So we also discuss about the 4 reasons. This is mainly about Buddha. So I'm not going to go through this. Yeah. Then do you remember the individual precepts? Should not. Once you have taken refuge, upon taking refuge in Buddha, what you should not?
From other sentient beings.
No, should not. This are individual, yeah. So since it's have to correspond. Since you have taken refuge in Buddha, what you should not?
Take refuge in other worldly gods.
Yes. What else? Since you've taken refuge in Dharma,
Harm sentient beings.
Do not harm. Refrain from harming other sentient beings. And then, since you have taken refuge in Sangha, we should not associate with those holding wrong views.
Also, don't abandon it. Don't abandon it, at the cost of your life.
Those are the general precepts. They will come later. So now, since you have taken refuge in Buddha, what we should do?
Treat images with respect.
Yeah. And then, in Dharma, honor the writings of the teachings. Remember, I gave you an example how my godmother used to do all that. So we should not place, the text on the floor, on the ground. We should not step over, cross over. Yeah. So that's a big challenge for monks when they travel in train. Because train space is so limited and you are carrying those texts, and where should you put it? So there's always a challenge. Then Sangha, you should revere members of the community. That's what we talked about. Then general precepts. Recalling the good qualities of the 3 jewels, go for refuge again and again. Then offer the first portion of your food and drink. If not, you can just do the food offering prayer. Lead others to take refuge. Whatever you do, trust in 3 jewels. Upon understanding the benefits, go for refuge 3 times in the day and 3 times at night. Have you done that since last week? 3 times in the morning, 3 times in the evening? Very good. Maintain refuge and do not forsake the 3 jewels, even in the jest or if it costs your life. Can you see anything here?
I love it.
Okay, yeah. Okay, so that's the recap. So now today we are going to do refuge practice. This is more of a traditional practice. What we have been doing so far is more like the secular version. We are just focusing on our breath. So this is what is called visualization practice. So any practice, Dharma practice, whatever we do, it always starts with the motivation. We have a saying that that means there are 2 important deeds before and after every practice. So at the beginning, it is the motivation, because motivation determines the result, what becomes, or the quality, or the amount of merit we accumulate depends on our motivation. So there are various motivation. Of course, in psychology, I think there are only extrinsic and intrinsic motivation. So extrinsic is about incentives. You do things, you are motivated by incentives, external rewards. If the pay is good, you take on even though you don't like the job. Whereas intrinsic is something you do that you like. There is no much external reward, but you are propelled to do that because you enjoy doing that. So I haven't come across the way we talk about this in psychology, but that is the main tool, the motivation in psychology. But generally, motivation is the one that really drives us. In the morning, there's motivation that pulls us out of our bed to go to work. All this, there is a driving force. So that is motivation. And one of the common motivation for most of us is concern for this life, worldly concern. Now we're talking about practice here. When it comes to practicing Dharma, it's worldly concern. We have talked on this many times. We come for classes. Maybe you want to learn and be knowledgeable in Buddhist study, or you come here and hoping to gain something so that you can learn some technique that will help you reduce your increase the happiness for this life. Or maybe you go to temple because you want wealth, or you want fame. All these are worldly concerns. So that's I rated this number 4. So that's the last one. That's that. In the first class, remember, if anything you do with that motivation, it does not qualify as Dharma practice. So in order to qualify as Dharma practice, minimum it needs to be motivated by the concern for next life. You are concerned for your future rebirth. So if you do practice anything to achieve optimum human rebirth in your next life, that can be counted as Dharma practice. And that is what we call the practice of the person of small scope. And then we have something called renunciation. So that is the motivation when you wish to achieve liberation, emancipation from this samsara. As long as you are in this samsara, you are subject to delusion. Anger arises, jealousy arises. It it drives you to do all kinds of things that you regret. So once we are able to be free from all these afflictive emotions, that's when we achieve emancipation or nirvana or liberation. So if you are motivated to practice anything by that kind of attitude, intention, that becomes the practice of the person of medium school. So that is even better than the third one. And then the best one is bodhicitta. Bodhicitta is the mind wishing, aspiring to achieve enlightenment, not for your sake, but for the sake of other sentient beings. So it is like this. I see other beings suffering. I want to liberate them. But at the moment, forget about liberating all sentient beings. I cannot even liberate one person. But when can I do that? When I achieve enlightenment. So that's why you are aspiring to achieve enlightenment. For the sake, in order to help other sentient beings. So that's the best. So every time when we do any practice, try to have this motivation. So let's say if there are 4 people doing the same recitation or same practice, let's say we are doing money recitation. Let's imagine there are 4 people doing the same practice, and one person does it with the worldly concern, just to have, good health, good life. And then another one does with, in order to achieve good rebirth. And then another one does with intention to achieve liberation. And then the final person does with bodhicitta, mind of bodhicitta. So even though what they are doing is exactly the same, but because of their motivation, the result varies. The first one, maybe it can help a little bit in this life. That's all. There's nothing more. But whereas those people who do practice with bodhicitta, the merit is double, triple of the earlier ones. So that's why for us, we are so busy, we have no time to practice. So when we get short period of time to practice, if you are able to do that, that's very good. So within a short period of time, you are able to accumulate or cultivate great merit. So that's why always have to try to check your motivation. And in traditional practice, so there is this posture of meditation. There are 7 postures, but there is also sometimes 8th one. 8th one is breathing in and out. That is to set your motivation right. When you focus your mind on your breath, let's say if you have a negative mind, it somehow distracts you from that. Our mind, we are ordinary people. Our mind can focus on one object at a time. So if you are thinking about this one, you cannot think of something else. So when we bring our mind onto our breath, then we are distracting the mind from that negative thought. Let's say if you are very angry, or what is that object? Angry against somebody, is it?
Angry with
somebody. So when you try to sit down and meditate, you will be able to meditate. Your mind keeps going back to the person, what she or he said, or what he did or she did. So in order to neutralize that mindset, you focus your mind. You start counting. So that's why we do practice counting your breath. So breathe in, breathe out, count as 1. Breathe in, breathe out, count 2. So when you do that, your focus kind of shifts, and then your mind kind of becomes neutral. You are able to level like the field. And then with that, you can start with a motivation. So that's why every time, whatever, no matter whether it's a long practice, short practice, big practice, small practice, try to spend some time on this generating bodhicitta. And then you try to do that. That's a very clever or wise way to practice. And then how the three refuge, I have already mentioned to you, but just to emphasize the point, this is what I found on Facebook. This is from the Sutra. Noble one, think of yourself as someone who is sick, of the Dharma as the remedy, of your spiritual teacher as a skillful doctor, and of diligent practice as the way to recovery. So your practice is the way to recovery. So if you don't practice, then no cure. And there's a quote. 매망 상신 방바 될랑네 나와 초를 주베 매미통 멤베 말리 멘지 마니데 네버라니 기네 네버스. So what it says that if you are sick, so you go and see doctor, and then you buy a lot of medicines. First of all, lots of medicine and good quality ones, and then if you don't take those medicines, there will be no recovery. You will not get better. And if you don't get better, it is not the fault of the doctor. It is not the fault of the medicine. It is solely your fault because you are supposed to take the pills, but you did not. So how can you expect to recover if you don't take the pill? So that's the emphasis. Who is already 11. Okay, we will stop here for break. And I have made Indian chai. So if you are not familiar, if I were you, I would just try a little bit. Yeah. So please, and then we will start. We will resume. Tibetans, they don't need.
The Tibetans already know.
Limited.
I don't need either. You don't need either. Okay, thank you.
Okay. This is supposed to be meditation session, but it went on. Yeah. Okay, now let's just do meditation. So first let me just, so we have already covered about the motivation. So before we start, try to generate this motivation of bodhicitta. It's like, in order to help all sentient beings who are one time, our mother. So when they were our mother at that time, at one time, they have been, kind to us the way our present mother or father have been kind to us. So it is a common practice conventionally to repay their kindness, but there are different ways to repay the kindness. You can of course try to repay in material ways, but that will only benefit them only this life, but it will not benefit them in terms of future life and also from samsara and all that. So the best is to liberate them, help them liberate from the samsara and bring to enlightenment. So at the moment, as I mentioned earlier, we don't have that capability. Only when we achieve, only when we become Buddha ourselves, then only then we will be able to help it. So because of that, so may I achieve enlightenment in order to benefit or help sentient beings. In order to do that, I am going to practice this meditation. So that's the intention you're supposed to generate. And then once you have that intention, and you can spend some time thinking about the two courses that we have discussed. I'm not going to repeat that. So you spend, 1 minute or 2 minutes just thinking about the courses. The first one, the uncertainty of your what is going to become in future, and then you look for a refuge, and you realize that Buddha, Dharma, Sangha are the objects of refuge, and then you make this determination that I will take refuge in these three. And once you have that determination, and then there's a visualization. So somewhere, so do you see there? So in the center, there are different ways of visualizing what we call merit field. But we are going to do the easy one. This is a concise one. So in the middle, so the Tibetan, the throne, which is supported by 4 lions.
Oh.
A huge throne, and then at the center, you visualize Shakyamuni Buddha. So I cannot point to this. Can you see anything there?
Yeah.
Okay. So this is supposed to be the main Buddha. So main Buddha, in essence, it's your guru. It's your root guru. So you have received teachings from many lamas. You have your own guru. So in essence, your guru, but in the form of Shakyamuni Buddha. Yeah. And then surrounding the Buddha, there are other Buddhas, and then Bodhisattvas, and then whatever you know about, all this. So we have Daka, Dakini, and all the protectors, all this. If you cannot, just visualize that Buddha surrounded by other Buddha and Bodhisattvas. So Bodhisattvas are those who have the bodhicitta. And then when we recite that prayer, LAMA-LA SANG-GYE CHO-LA GENDUN-LA. So there are 3, normally it's 3 refuge, but we have this Lama in the front. The first thing is Lama, because Lama is said to be the emanation or manifestation of emanation of Buddha, because Buddha cannot come in that form in the world to help sentient beings, but they have to take different forms. So lamas are supposedly the manifestation or the emanation of Buddha to help. So lamas are the one, or guru is the one that we are receiving direct benefits. So that's why that is the main one. So when you chant LAMA-LA so you can visualize here there are rays, those fleshy ones supposed to be rays of light emitting from Buddha's body. Sorry, then I skipped one thing. So once you have visualized Buddhas there, in front of them, you see I have tried to have here the scriptural text. Yeah, these are in front of them. These are the texts, but in actual, these are the realizations. That's the main Dharma. But the actual realizations, but in the form of scriptural text. And then, of course, there are rays of light emitting. And then other surrounding Buddhas also, they have rays emitting from their body. So when you say LAMA-LA then from the Buddha, the main Buddha, the rays of light. Remember that is, in essence, it's your Guru. So from your Guru, rays of light comes, and also you can imagine nectars coming, rain of shower of nectars, emitting or coming from the main that Buddha, and then it, what you call, dissolves into you and purifies. This is a purification practice. Purifies all the negativities that we have accumulated, what you call, beginningless lifetime. And then there are specific also negativities that we created in relation to your Guru, like lack of respect, like criticizing your Lama. So these are negativities that we created in this life. So whatever you may not have, but whatever you have created, all these negativities, you visualize that all these in the form of black water or soot, then come, it's just the rays of light and nectar fills your body, and it drives out all the negativities in the form of soot or dark water. It comes out of your body, and you imagine that all those negativities in relation to your Guru are cleansed now. And then at the same, after you did that round, the second round, you imagine now, the first time is the white light. Second time you imagine yellow light. Now you are cleansed. So now you are receiving, when you say Lama-La, you imagine you are receiving all the blessings of your Guru's blessing of speech, body, mind. Body, speech, mind. You are filled up. Your torso, your body is fully filled with all the blessings of your Guru. So that's at one stage. So when you say Lama-La, so you are supposed to do that. So what we will try to do is we will just do a few rounds of these 4 lines, but later we will do maybe 25 of one. We will just focus on the first one. Lama-La, 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 and then we do the visualization, and then we move on to SANG-GYE. So Lama-La means I take refuge in Guru, or I go for refuge in Guru. And then the second one is SANG-GYE. So now, instead of rays of light emitting from your Guru, so now imagine all the rays of light emitting from all the Buddhas. And then the same, all the negativities cleanse, in particularly those negativities in relation to Buddha. So normally it's said that by causing physical harm, of course, we won't be able to do that, even if we want to cause harm to Buddha. Yeah, Buddha, you cannot cause, but we have, lack of respect. When we see Buddha image, we don't respect. And we will leave shoes or anything, like even showing your bag, and all these are disrespectful to Buddha. So when you see any Buddha statue, you are supposed to treat that image as a real Buddha. So these statues are representations of Buddha and are to remind us of Buddha's quality. So sometimes we forget that we have a statue here and we do all kinds of disrespectful things. So we do knowingly or unknowingly. So these kinds of negativities, we can visualize that all that is cleansed. And then after that, of course, another round is the yellow light, yellow color rays of light emitting from Buddhas and receiving the blessings of Buddha. And then when we say CHO-LA, there's I take refuge in Dharma. So those the scriptural texts. So don't think that these are just just texts, but these are in essence the realizations, attainments of all those Arya beings, but in the form of scripture text. So when you say CHO-LA, now the rays of light emits from these scriptural texts, and then same way, and then we have generally all the negativities, and in specific, in particular, those in relation to Dharma. That is what is called, the main one is called abandoning Dharma. So abandoning Dharma is more like derogating other religion. Am I saying?
Being derogatory towards?
Yeah. You mean you just look down and criticize?
Yeah.
What is that?
Disparaging?
Denigrate.
Denigrate, isn't it?
Denigrate?
Yeah.
Okay.
Denigrate other faith. Like you are, I am Mahayana, or the Hinayana, or the Theravadins are, or true law and all this thing. That kind of view. So these are what is called abandoning Dharma. And then if you are a practitioner of Tantrayana, then you say, oh, Sutrayana is too slow, and that kind of view. So that kind of view, all these kind of attitude are considered as abandoning Dharma. And then of course disrespect. We keep Dharma books all over the place. Sometimes we put in our pocket. So these are even many people carry Buddha's statue or in your wallet and then just bring it here and then sit on it. So these are acts of disrespect. Yeah. So these are the specific negativities in relation to Dharma. And then when you say, I take refuge in Sangha, so now so remember Buddhas are surrounded by Bodhisattvas, and also the solitary Arya beings and Hira Arya beings. So from all these beings, rays of light emits and then cleanse away generally all the negativities. And then in relation to Sangha, so that is your lack of respect. So here Sangha, we are talking about those ordained monks. When I told you about Tibetan culture. So when Sangha community or the monks, any monks comes, there's a lot of respect. They accord great reverence and respect. So that is the practice. Because you have taken refuge in Sangha, that is the advice that you have to treat any Sangha as actual Sangha and then accord the due respect. So we fail that. Sometimes we just criticize monks and nuns all the time, So these count as negativities in relation to Dharma. These are just an example. There are a lot more. Yeah. So when you say I take in refuge or I go for refuge in Sangha, so you do the same visualization. So everybody clear about this? Yeah? Okay. Yeah, I have this here, but I'm not going to read because the time is short. So you know what Buddha looks like. So visualize that. Yeah. So first spend few minutes just visualizing that. I'm not going to say anything, just visualize, and then we will chant that prayer. LAMA-LA Japsu Jo, SANG-GYE Japsu Jo, CHO-LA Japsu Jo, GENDUN-LA Japsu Chi-O, LAMA-LA Japsu Chi-O, SANG-GYE Japsu Chi-O, CHO-LA Japsu Chi-O, GENDUN-LA Japsu Chi-O, LAMA-LA Japsu Chi-O, SANG-GYE Japsu Chi-O, CHO-LA Japsu Chi-O, GENDUN-LA Japsu Chi-O, LAMA-LA Japsu Chi-O, LAMA-LA Japsu Chi-O,
LAMA-LA Japsu Chi-O, LAMA-LA Japsu Chi-O, LAMA-LA Japsu Chi-O, LAMA-LA Japsu Chi-O, LAMA-LA Japsu Chi-O, LAMA-LA Japsu Chi-O, LAMA-LA Japsu Chi-O, LAMA-LA Japsu Chi-O, LAMA-LA Japsu Chi-O, LAMA-LA Japsu Chi-O, LAMA-LA Japsu Chi-O, LAMA-LA Japsu Chi-O, LAMA-LA.
You can also, when you visualize that, you can also visualize when the rays of light, dissolves into you, also purifies negativities, as well as any problems or any sickness or any unease, discomfort, whatever it is. You can also include that in your visualization as well.
SANG-GYE Japsu Chi-O, 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 Japsu Chi-O, CHO-LA 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 Japsu Chi-O, Japsu Chi-O, GENDUN-LA 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 Japsu Chi-O, LAMA-LA Japsu Chi-O, SANG-GYE Japsu Chi-O, CHO-LA Japsu Chi-O, GENDUN-LA Japsu Chi-O, LAMA-LA Japsu Chi-O, SANG-GYE Japsu Chi-O, CHO-LA Japsu Chi-O, GENDUN-LA Japsu Chi-O, LAMA-LA Japsu Chi-O, SANG-GYE Japsu Chi-O, CHO-LA Japsu Chi-O, GENDUN-LA Japsu Chi-O.
I give you a few minutes to do silently. Take 3 deep breaths just to de-stress. How was it?
Wonderful.
So we have been absolved from all our negativities.
I have one share. So now when we have this Buddha, Sangha all in front of us and getting blessing and cleansing, so after finishing this, what we do with the...
So there are different ways. One is you can kind of, all those surrounding, it kind of dissolves into, the outer ones dissolve into inner, and then finally everyone dissolves into the main Buddha, and then that one, you can imagine that kind of dissolves into you and receive the blessing. Okay? So just to de-stress, that's it's too loud. Did that help? Okay, now homework. Yeah, I don't think I have enough for everybody. So I think those who are from one family can share. So this is a stanza from 8 verses of mind training. So I want you all to try this, because most of our disappointments come from those who surround us, our family members, those people you treat them so well, and you expected a similar response, but they fell short of your expectation. So then, how we deal with them normally is, we what is that called? Retaliate. But it says here, even if someone I have helped, or in whom I have placed great hope, greatly mistreats me in hurtful ways, may I view him as my sublime teachers. Wow. So try this and see. So I just want to give you some tips based on Shantideva's. So first of all, so we have this common saying that even he, after all that, he betrayed me, he did this, he did that. I don't mind if somebody else did this to me, but not from him, not from her. That's what our normally say that, isn't it? Because we have this expectation. So Shantideva says, when we come across this one, it says, so it comes back to karma. Remember, from Buddhist point of view, anything, whatever we experience, it does not arise without a cause. It arises due to cause and effect. And that cause we have created. If we experience that kind of betrayal and negative response from others, that means in our life, in the past, somewhere along our past life, we have created that. So if you are able to view that in that light, it immediately reduces the severity. So that's why I mentioned in Tibetan community, depression, prolonged grief is quite rare. Because whatever misfortune befalls, we automatically say, it's my karma. So when you are able to accept that and then kind of interpret that as karma, so it kind of lightens the weight. So this is what it is saying. Whatever harsh treatment you receive from others, if you're able to view it as, must have been my karma, and it's good that now I'm exhausting that negative karma because I'm experiencing the result. So that is one way to cope with such experience. Then another one is that we always, when somebody harms us, we always view that, the person did intentionally. But when we did something and when we apologize, I didn't mean to do that, I was under the force of anger, I was so angry, I said this, So it shows that it's not intentional. You didn't really mean to cause this harm. So there is a very famous quote from Shantideva. What can I remember now? Which means that this is an analogy. If somebody wields a stick and hits you on your head, what is our reaction? We get angry at the wielder. But it says if you really think carefully, the hurt that was caused is actually the stick. If you are really going to get upset because it caused hurt, then it says pain or hurt. It says you should be getting angry at the stick, not the person. But then you say, no, the stick doesn't, harm by itself. You need somebody to motivate him, somebody to wield and do that. And then in that case, yes, so you justify why you are angry at the wielder, because, if without the person, the stick alone cannot harm you. Then that is the reason, it says, Shantideva says that. Then, that person is also, propelled by anger. We only hit when we get angry, He was also, triggered by this anger. So if your reason is that, somebody did it, then you have to get angry at his anger rather than the person. So these are really good, you see. So this is also one way to apply. And then another one, it says, examine the incongruence between your fundamental desire and your action. So let's say if somebody, betrays you, or somebody cause harm to you, and you get angry and retaliate. So that is actually incongruent with your fundamental wish. Your fundamental desire is to be happy, to avoid suffering. But getting angry is opposite. It counters, your desire. Because when you have anger, when you have hatred, when you hold grudge against the person, there's no comfort. It's so, there's a lot of unease. Imagine if you are, harboring that hatred towards a person. You cannot even sleep when you, especially when this kind of gathering, there is this, repulsion. When you see the person, it's like, you don't want to go there because that person is there. So that's where the forgiveness comes. I always say this, forgiveness. We say that, I forgive you. I don't want to forgive you, as if you are doing a favor to that person. But actually, you are doing a favor to yourself. You may hold this, you may harbor this, intense hatred against that person. But the person may be oblivious to that. You are not creating any harm to that person. He is sleeping so soundly there, and here you are, boiling. So when you forgive, it is actually for yourself. Of course, forgive doesn't mean reconciliation. You can forgive, but no need to reconcile. So these are some techniques that when you encounter this kind of experience, you can apply. And we have discussed this. So most of the things is actually your attitude, how you interpret the situation. It may be the same situation, but how you interpret it makes a difference. It changes your response. Imagine you are walking with a cup of coffee and somebody behind you pushes you and spilled that coffee on your favorite dress. What would be your response? What would be our response? You will get angry and then you turn back and then you see it's a blind man. What happens? Your anger subsides. Because suddenly there's interpretation. Oh, it's a blind man. Oh, he couldn't see. So you see that a lot of things depends on our interpretation. So I wanted to show you a clip. This may be a bit inappropriate. I apologize if so. So you see how we interpret things. If it were an adult, your response will be completely different. Of course, first, how dare you, and then you looked at it as a boy, and you see, you change. So that's how we interpret. So it's the same stimuli, same circumstances, but because of how we interpret, our attitude makes a big difference. So try to have that kind of, try to use these techniques to interpret the situation. So that is not only good for the other person, it's very good for you. It will spare you of all that discomfort, all that suffering, pain, whatever it is. So that's your homework, and I hope to hear a lot of stories. Any questions? If no questions, then yeah, we go.
So we say the dedication prayer.